Poštovani gledalci, dobrodošli u još jedno izdanje emisije Granice Istoka. Ja sam Harun Karčić. Američka vojska nedavno je saopćila kako je 14 ruskih borbenih aviona sletilo u libijsku zračnu bazu El Džufra, koja je pod kontrolom snaga odmetnutog generala Halife Haftara. Do tog poteza je došlo nakon što su snage centralne vlade u Tripoliju uz pomoć turskih dronova zauzele strateški važnu zračnu bazu El Batija. Signalizira li prebacivanje ruskih borbenih aviona novu etapu u libijskom ratu? Vodi li novoj eskalaciji odnosa Moskve i Ankare i zbog čega američka vojska ne zauzima jasni stav? Analiziramo u ovom izdanju emisije. Prije razgovora sa našim gostima, pogledajmo uvodni prilog o najnovijim dešavanjima u tom dijelu Bliskog istoka.
Put koji vodi prema Sirtu je otvoren. Ostaci razaranja govore o starim i novim sukobima. Pripadnici samoproglašene libijske narodne armije, odane ratnom vođi Halifi Haftaru, napustili su vojne položaje, bježeći pred protivnikom. Razgovarali smo s Abdul Hamidom, pripadnikom vladinih snaga. Njegov brat je poginuo u borbama za oslobođenje Sirta od ISIL-a 2016. godine. Nekoliko mjeseci ISIL je kontrolirao Sirt sve dok borci iz Misrate nisu oslobodili grad i stavili točku na postojanje te grupe u Libiji. Abdul Hamid sve ovo doživljava osobno.
Moral boraca je visok. Prilazimo Sirtu sa zapadne i južne strane.
Posljednja napredovanja vladinih snaga na terenu praćena su nizom poraza Haftarovih snaga. Trenutačno snage međunarodne priznate vlade značajno napreduju ka Sirtu. Ovo je točka 50, jedan od prilaza grada. Vladine snage su nam rekle da su djelomično okružile grad.
Sve smo bliže Sirtu i počeli smo ga okruživati. Pozivamo građane Sirta da prisile Haftarove snage da napuste grad. 770 naših boraca poginulo je oslobađajući Sirt od ISIL-a i mi nećemo prepustiti grad ratnom zločincu Haftaru.
Kontrola nad strateški važnim priobalnim gradom Sirtom ključna je za obje strane zbog budućih mirovnih pregovora. Ovo je treća bitka za Sirt tijekom 9-godišnjeg rata u Libiji.
U nedavnim sukobima u Libiji, sigurnosni analitičari su primijetili efikasnost turskih bespilotnih letjelica, odnosno dronova. Turska je ranije koristila izraelske dronove tipa Heron. Međutim, nakon pogoršanja odnosa sa Tel Avivom 2010. godine, ta saradnja je prekinuta. Turska je proizvodnja dronova dobila je dodatni vjetar u leđa nakon što je 2012. godine Washington zabranio izvoz dronova i tehnologije Turskoj. To je natjeralo Tursku da razvije domaću tehnologiju. Danas je Turska među glavnim proizvođačima vojnih dronova. Najpoznatiji su modeli Anka S i Bayraktar TB2, koji se koriste u Siriji i Libiji. Turske dronove dosad su kupili Ukrajina, Katar, Tunis i Indonezija. Turska je na 14. mjestu u svijetu kad je riječ o namjenskoj industriji. 2002. godine izdvajanja za istraživanje i razvoj namjenske industrije iznosila su svega $49 milijuna. 2018. godine izdvojilo se 1,4 milijarde, a 2019. 1,7 milijardi dolara. Prema zvaničnim podacima, godišnji promet turske vojne industrije 2019. godine iznosio je 10,9 milijardi dolara. To je povećanje za 24% u poređenju sa 2018. godinom kada je iznosio 8,8 milijardi dolara. 2002. godine vrijednost izvoza oružja i vojne opreme iznosio je svega $247 milijuna. 2018. godine ta cifra je porasla na 2,3 milijarde dolara, a 2019. na 2,7 milijardi dolara, što je skok od 34,6%. Zapravo, između 2014. i 2018. godine izvoz turske vojne opreme skočio je za nevjerojatnih 170%. 5 turskih firmi, uključujući Aselsan, Tusaš i Roketsan, su na listi 100 najutjecajnijih u globalnoj namjenskoj industriji. Glavni kupci turskog oružja u protekloj godini su bili Sjedinjene Američke Države, Njemačka, Ujedinjeni Arapski Emirati, Indija, Holandija, Katar, Švicarska, Saudijska Arabija, Velika Britanija i Azerbejdžan. Ipak, većina proizvedenog oružja namijenjena je turskoj vojsci i sigurnosnim službama. Iako Turska planira postići samoodrživost u odbrambenom sektoru do 2053. godine, i dalje ima potrebu da uvozi oružje. 2019. godine Turska je uvezla oružje u vrijednosti 3,1 milijardu dolara, što je porast u poređenju sa 2018. godinom kada je uvezla oružje u vrijednosti 2,4 milijarde dolara. Idemo slikom do Pariza gdje se nalazi Abdunur Tumi, analitičar Centra za bliskoistočne studije Orsam iz Ankare. Mr. Abdunur, hello and welcome to the Al Jazeera Balkans channel. Now, let me begin by asking you, Russia recently sent a number of advanced fighter jets to Libya. At the same time, Russia withdrew its mercenaries from the Western Front. How do you make sense of all that? Do you expect Russia to take a more proactive and aggressive role in Libya now?
Thank you for having me on your show. Sure. As far as the role of Russia in Libya, we all, or analysts agree on, it's vital for Russia to have an open or a gate on the Mediterranean. And the relations of Russia goes back to the Soviet Union and with its relation with Libya and its neighbor Algeria as well. So now, for the question of the presence of the Russian presence, let's say, in following the latest development on the ground and the question of the Russian mercenaries in Libya, it's another it's another element or another in the Libyan puzzle. So Russia is not going to let Libya or leave Libya easily because, as I mentioned earlier, it is vital for its national interest, and to some extent, and it is fair. On the other hand, Turkey as well is playing a major role. And Turkey, we all understand, during the last 6 months, its role was also determinant in the equation of the conflict. And so the, let's say, impressive success of the GNA these days on the ground, it goes actually to the, or because of the direct logistic, military intelligence help of Turkey. So now the two countries together, they are playing a major role in Libya. And this is which will lead to the question of what's the role of the EU, the European Union, what they are doing, what they are saying. So this is will play out in the next days, if not next hours, because as we know also, Haftar, he just made a quick trip yesterday to Egypt, and the Sarraj is in Ankara. So there is something going on. And again, let's put it nicely, something is actually interesting will happen in the next days.
Mm-hmm. Now, are Russia and Turkey primarily pursuing political or economic interests in Libya? And has Ankara realized that Russia is the essential power it will have to deal with in this part of North Africa, despite the support that General Khalifa Haftar receives from Egypt, United Arab Emirates, even France?
Actually, it's very interesting. This odd couple, the two countries of Russia and Turkey is a very interesting element in this conflict. Actually, and unfortunately, it has become an international conflict, a proxy war going on the ground of Libya. So both, as I mentioned, both countries have a vital interest economically, politically, militarily, and geostrategically as well. So now, as far as the support, let's say, I think is going to be less, but actually explicitly the support of Moscow to Haftar, and don't forget what Haftar did to President Putin in last year in Moscow is not going to be forgiven easily from the Russians. So now there are some reports. Russia is already looking for another alternative for Haftar. So, but Haftar, I think, has become irrelevant in the equation. So you mentioned an interesting point of the access of Abu Dhabi, Riyadh, and France. So here is, so the battle on the ground actually is clear. So the Russians, they know in the end of the day, Haftar is no longer a relevant, let's say a credible player that they can count on. Turkey knows well Haftar is dead. So, and Turkey has become, or is going emerge stronger from this fight. So, as far as but the question is, the Emirates insist and persist on Haftar. We don't know why, but I think it's simple. The Emirates then doesn't have a strategic vision in North Africa and notably in the Maghreb countries. And look what it has been doing lately in Libya, and also its indirect involvement not only in Libya but also in Tunisia these days. But alas, so Egypt can, let's say, withdraw a little bit and think also strategically, because in the end of the day, the one who is concerned directly on this is Egypt more than the Emirates. Emirates, right. they're playing the cash diplomacy.
Right. Now, why do you think the United States government has not shown much interest in the Libyan conflict, despite the U.S. military's Africa Command issuing a number of warnings about increased Russian presence on the continent?
That's a good question as well. So I know it's not fair to say Americans, the U.S. is not showing interest in the Libyan countries. Don't forget what happened with the U.S. ambassador in 2011, and the U.S. will never forget this. The U.S. has kind of misstepped Libya policy in the second term of President Obama. So the policy of Hillary Clinton was terrible, and then Kerry tried to fix what Hillary Clinton did wrongly in Libya, but that it continued. And then the administration of Donald Trump, this is another story, because Donald Trump doesn't look at Libya as all his predecessors before, because the U.S. with NATO has always looking at the east of the Mediterranean, another as a strategic and a vital area to back then to contain the Soviet Union, and recently don't let the Russians have free hands in the region. And the declaration of the general of the AFRICOM last week, I think a couple of days ago, was clear message for Russia. But let's say, I think in this next 6 coming months is going to be kind of standby America's Maghreb, North Africa foreign policy, because of what's going on domestically and the challenges President Trump is facing these days. And also, I think Donald Trump is not going to look at Libya or even Syria or even China. He's just, kind of show he's playing on, but he will focus on his re-election. So everything is not going to be clear from the U.S. side, let's say, until January 2021. And this is going to be a huge mistake and too late. And again, in the end of the day, the one who will be gaining all this is Turkey, because Turkey has emerged as a strong and solid, pivotal player in the region. And also the latest development on the COVID-19, let's put it this way, its healthcare policy has strengthened the position of Turkey.
Right, Mr. Abdunnoor Nouri, it was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Likewise.
Poštovani gledalci, iz Pariza nam se uključio Abdunnoor Tumi, analitičar Centra za blisko istočne studije Orsam u Ankari. Rusija i Turska 3. juna obilježile su 100. godišnjicu uspostave diplomatskih odnosa. Mnogo toga veže te dvije zemlje, ali se ipak, kad je riječ o geopolitici Bliskog istoka, drastično razilaze. Više detalja u grafici. Idemo sada do Londona gdje se nalazi analitičar Bliskog istoka Kemal Alam koji će nam detaljnije pojasniti tursko-ruske odnose u Libiji. Kemal, hello and welcome to the Al Jazeera Balkans channel. Now, Russia recently sent a number of fighter jets to Libya. Was this a repeat of its 2015 Syria moment? And did Moscow just raise the stakes in a stalemated civil war that has partitioned Libya?
I think, yes, definitely the Russians have raised the stakes in Libya. However, I don't think it's quite the same as Syria. Syria, of course, we have to realize is a 60-year-old ally of Russia. And even during the Cold War, Syria was the front line for Soviet policy in the Middle East. Libya is not quite as important for Russia. However, having said that, of course, Russia has deep interests there, economic interests, and this is linked to the wider North Africa and West Africa policy. So it's raising the stakes, but not quite the same level as Syria. I don't see a long-term military deployment to Libya. At the moment, they're using...
Why not?
I think because at the moment, they're using their mercenaries rather than a regular army. And as I mentioned, Libya does not come into the calculus of Russian policy overall. Syria, of course, is extremely important because it goes back 60 years, even before Putin and Assad. Whilst in Libya, I think Russia's main motivation is, I think, one, to balance out potential European interests. And by having a stake in Libya, Russia can put pressure on Europe. But at the same time, I think there is a vacuum of leadership in North Africa because the Americans do not seem that interested anymore. So I think it's more to do with geopolitics than Russia's grand strategy for Libya.
That was exactly my next question. Why is the U.S. government not interested in Libya, in the conflict in Libya, despite the U.S. military's Africa Command issuing a number of warnings against increased Russian military presence on the African continent?
I think that's a good question. I think there are two reasons for this. One, Donald Trump in general, as you know, has been favoring an isolationist approach. He's not too interested in foreign conflicts. We see he keeps saying he wants to pull out of Afghanistan. He wants to pull out of Iraq and Syria. Similarly, Libya is something that does not interest him so much. As far as Trump goes, Libya is just something that Clinton and Obama did bad. You mentioned AFRICOM. Yes, for the U.S. military, Africa is extremely important. The last 10 years, the whole African deployment for the U.S. military has increased almost tenfold, especially in West Africa. I think Libya at the moment is seen as Europe's problem. The U.S. is just not very interested, primarily because Trump does not see too much of light, whether it's Libya, Syria, or even Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm. Now, Turkish drones and military advisors helped turn the tide against forces loyal to General Khalifa Haftar. Why is Ankara so adamant on keeping the internationally recognized government in Tripoli afloat when even EU countries such as France and Italy have pretty much given up on the GNA government in Tripoli and are openly supporting the renegade General Khalifa Haftar?
I think Turkey has, of course, extremely vital interests in the Mediterranean. And we've seen there's been a bit of a Mediterranean bloc against Turkey. So I think Turkey is probably acting out of two things. One is fear that they feel encirclement in the Mediterranean against their key economic interests, which is mostly Mediterranean oil and gas. At the same time, Turkey has large investments in Africa. A stable Libya is very important for Turkey. And the Turkish Africa policy is something which is very important. President Erdogan has made several high-profile visits to Africa. These are countries just below Libya. So West Africa is important. Having a base in Libya, predominantly economic base, but of course, given Libya as a war zone, Turkey feels it has to intervene militarily to protect its economic interests.
Right. Why are Ankara and Moscow locked in supporting opposing sides in Syria and in Libya, yet they see it necessary to cooperate and to trade? How do you make sense of all that?
I think the Turkey-Russia relationship is very interesting. Of course, it's evolved over the last 100 years. Turkey and Russia have historically been enemies going back hundreds of years. In the Cold War, of course, Turkey was very much in the US camp. At the moment, I think Putin and Erdogan drive the relationship, which is purely economic. the billions of dollars of industry when it comes to tourism, agriculture, and increasingly defense. However, regionally speaking, they do not have similar interests, whether it's in the Middle East, whether it's in North Africa, and potentially in the Balkans as well, and of course in the Caucasus. So what we're seeing, as you've asked me, is they are on opposing sides in Syria. Everyone knows that. They're on opposing sides in Libya. Russia is closely aligned to Egypt and the UAE, which of course do not see eye to eye with Turkey. However, the one thing that's different here is economics. Russia and Turkey are billion-dollar partners in tourism, in oil and gas. They've signed major deals when it comes to both exploration and the delivery of oil and gas in the Caspian Sea and the Black Sea. So they have major economic interests, and it'll define the future of Europe as well. If Turkey forge a closer relationship with Russia, of course, this is something the EU is not happy with, neither are the Americans, because that challenges NATO. So the Russia-Turkey relationship is a work in progress, and I think there are more positives than negatives, despite being on opposite sides.
And finally, how is the Libya war related to the wider geopolitical battle for control over the Eastern Mediterranean natural resources? We have Greece, Israel, Egypt, and Cyprus in one camp against Turkey and the GNA government in Tripoli on the other. So Turkey is pretty much left to fend for itself in this part of the Mediterranean.
Yes, I think this is the key really for Turkey's economic future in the Eastern Mediterranean. Turkey feel that they're being isolated. They also feel that they've not been supported over the war in Syria with regards to refugees. So I think it's a combination of two things where Turkey feel frustrated and they feel that the European Union have not supported them economically or politically when it comes to Turkey's own stability with regards to Syria and the Kurdish groups that they're fighting there. Add to that the economic issues where they feel the Greeks, the Cypriots, the Egyptians, of course, the Israelis, and perhaps even the Italians are working against what they feel is Turkey's rightful national security interests and economic interests, which is to drill oil in the Eastern Mediterranean. This is why they're supporting the Libyan government, and they feel that by supporting the Libyan government, which is, of course, UN recognized, they feel it's legitimate, and they also feel that it protects their influence in the Mediterranean because the other countries certainly do not see eye to eye with Turkey in the Mediterranean at the moment.
Right, Kemal, it was a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Poštovani gledalci, iz Londona nam se uključio Kemal Alam, analitičar Bliskog istoka. Zbog približavanja Moskvi i zajedničkih interesa proteklih godina, Ankara se udaljila od svojih NATO saveznika. Ipak, Turska i Rusija nisu saveznici. Povjerenje je na veoma niskom nivou, jer obje države podržavaju suprotstavljene snage u Siriji i Libiji. Ključni izazovi narednih mjeseci bit će kako balansirati između različitih vanjsko-političkih ciljeva i ekonomske saradnje te dvije države. Poštovani gledalci, bilo je to sve u ovom izdanju emisije Granice istoka. Ako ste propustili bilo koji dio, emisiju možete pogledati na našoj web stranici balkans.aljazeera.net. Hvala na pažnji.